So we're going to talk about the pickup objects of like an enemy drop, and we're going to specifically do this around like the Mario situation. So if we have a game where this is the player and this is the enemy, and in Mario Brothers, like imagine this is the Goomba, we're going to jump on its head, and then when we do that, it's going to drop a coin. So the enemy's going to die, and in its place is going to be a little coin. Make sense to everyone? Yeah, I mean, that right? Okay, so so here's our enemy. So currently we have some code that we detect that we collided with an enemy. The reason why I'm doing, just to back up a second, the reason why I'm doing the Mario setup here is because almost all other versions of destroying an enemy is easier than this one. This is the most difficult version, so I'm showing you that so that you can do any other one. Okay, so in this code we have in this setup we have some code that's like if the player on collision to enter am I on screen still? So it's like if we hit an enemy, still good?
You affect the whole board.
Okay, so if we hit an enemy, then what we're going to do is we're going to like probably take damage. And so what we need to figure out is like how to not take damage in this situation. Does that make sense? So how do we modify this code to not take damage in this situation?
Is it else if?
Well, we can do it inside of here, probably, inside of that if statement. We just need another if. So how is this situation different than this situation, where we just run into him here?
It's hitting the top instead of the side.
It's hitting the top instead of the side. Did you have anything to add to that?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, you could add another if statement, like, if you hit the enemy, do this,
So we'll get rid of the take damage.
and then that would be in there, and then,
We're gonna say if what?
like, if you hit it on the head,
Okay, so how do we determine that we hit it on the head?
Maybe if the enemy hits your feet.
How do you determine it's your feet?
Yeah, how do we determine it's our feet?
I think the way that the original Mario did it is if your velocity is moving down.
That's an interesting one. So if, I'm gonna write it down as an option, that's a cool option. If velocity is negative. So the problem with that is that if you hit in that situation, this is player, this is enemy, your velocity is negative there, but I don't feel like that should score you the kill, right? Like, that probably should get you hurt, I think. But your velocity would still be negative. But I like the idea. And as far as the feet thing goes, or the head thing goes, you could potentially add an additional collider. So you could add a collider in here that's like different than your orange collider. You have this little green collider. And you could add a little green collider there that's different than that orange collider. And then you could say when this collider hits that collider, then score the So we could do a collider change. Collider on head and foot. Okay, and what's another way of doing it?
Check if you're not on the ground, like, if you're on the ground.
Well, in that case, I just erased you're not on the ground. Anything else? No one? So, in this case here, if the players up here are one of our values is the same, either our X or Y is the same and one of them is different. So which one's the same? The X is the same, and so which one's different?
I have my jelly bean.
The Y is different, and so is there something we could use with that?
Like the Y value is higher.
So if we could compare Y's. So if Y, player Y, if player Y is greater than enemy Y, I wrote down two things because I'm about to get off screen, right?
No, you have the whole board.
I have the whole board?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. So if player Y is greater than enemy Y, and so again, in this situation where we have the player here and the enemy here, and they're just slightly, that's gonna still, I argue that should not be a kill, but this would satisfy it. So how do we need to modify this to make this not work, but to make this work?
You could have it so that you can just see where the top of the enemy is, and we put the player on the top of it, see what the Y value is on the computer. And then,
So like,
Like.
is that a stretch or is that a raising your hand?
That was my raising hand. Player Y minus, like, scale, like player Y scale is more than enemy Y. Oh,
You just do if X is the same and Y is greater.
Oh, I like that one. So you could say if this is happening and their X, so and X equals X. So, but that's gonna be like very precise, right? You'd have to like, I want to be able to,
You could do like plus or minus.
yeah, you can do
I want to kill him here, but I also want to kill him here and here, right? And those X's are not the same.
You could do like close to.
Close to.
No, this is
So
okay.
you can say enemy Y plus, I think this is what Owen was saying, enemy height. You'll have to figure out how to calculate enemy height. There might be a really quick and easy way of doing it. I'm pretty sure there is. But anyways, if your Y value is greater than or equal to the enemy Y plus the enemy height, then you should be able, and the collision's occurring, then you should be able to take them down. Right?
But currently, if I just jumped anywhere, it would kill it because we don't have any X checks.
This is inside of like, we hit it on collision occur.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that's all of the figuring out to make sure we have a viable collision that's one that we should win. And so now the second step is creating the coin. So in this case right here, if this is the case, we want to create a coin. create coin. And so let me update our game. We now have this. And what's gonna happen if I unpause this game? Like on the next frame, maybe even on this frame. Why is this game gonna be not super fun to play?
It'll just disappear and nothing will happen.
Yeah, so the coin's just gonna immediately disappear. We never actually saw it, right? We'll collect it, our score will go up, it'll play the noise, all of that exciting stuff. But in the same frame that it's created, it will also be destroyed, or maybe the next frame after it, and we'll never see it. Do people understand that? So what can we do to make it so that this coin survives long enough that we can actually see that we earned a coin?
I would go in the coin script, or add a script to the coin.
Okay, so we're in the coin script.
I would make an on-enable function, I think is the thing. Which should be called when it's instantiated. And
On
then,
enable.
right, or something like that. And then you can create it, make it do whatever you want. You can make it like shoot up or something.
We could even just do like on start probably. And just in the start function.
Yeah, I think that would.
So inside of start, we're going to, so we could make the coin go somewhere. Move coin. Oh, and where are we creating the coin? We're creating the coin at, so there's my at sign, at enemy X, comma, enemy Y. Okay, so then we're gonna move the coin from its enemy X, enemy Y location to some other place. So the coin goes flying up and the coin's here. So that's one possibility. In that situation, the coin still might fly through the enemy. So,
I was thinking like in Action Mario where you like bounce it back a little bit, so just moving the player away from what is spawned.
so we can make Mario bounce up and go somewhere else. That's what you mean? Okay,
And even with Andy's option, I would still disable the collider.
disable the collider on the coin.
Yeah, for just a bit and then rename it.
So on start, we'll say that the collider is disabled. And then in update, we have a timer. And then when the timer goes off, we're going to collider enable. Does that make sense, people? What do you guys think is a good amount of time to have our timer go for?
Half a second.
Yeah, like it's definitely going to be in the fraction of second realm. Like I had a student suggest like 2 seconds. That's going to be an eternity. You do not want 2 seconds. The player will be frustrated that they can't collect the coin, and they will move on past it, right? So it needs to be short enough time that the player feels like it's seamless, and long enough that you don't immediately collect it. Does that? So I'd say a half a second is probably the longest you'd want your timer to be. It's gonna be some kind of fraction. Okay, so any questions on this? Not required, but either this or projectile is required, one or the other. You can do both if you want, but you have to do at least one. No other questions?